Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Jackie Weatherall and I'm the Chief Executive. I'm just going to quickly outline Council's governance rules for members sitting in the gallery today. Council meetings, making them a safe place for everyone. During the Council meeting, members of the public cannot address the meeting outside of public question time, must not interject or act offensively, must remain seated, must switch your mobile phones to mute, must not operate any recording device, audio or visual without obtaining the consent from the Chief Executive Officer at least 3 days prior to the Council meeting, and can display placards or posters provided they're not offensive, do not obstruct entrances and exits to the chamber or impede any view or person. Treat councillors, staff and community members with courtesy and respect. Thank you. The meeting will start shortly.
Good evening, everyone. Item 1, meeting opening. Opening of meeting by the Chair. Item 1.2, attendance, CEO.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We have 3 apologies this evening. The Mayor, Councillor Sophie Tan is an apology, Councillor Jim Mamiti is an apology and Councillor Lloyd Trung is an apology.
Item 1.3, acknowledgement of traditional custodians of land. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Bunurong people, and pay respect to their elders past and present. We recognise and respect their continuing connections to climate, culture, country and waters, and we also pay our respect and acknowledge all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and their elders present here today in acknowledging their journey. Item 1.4, offering of prayer, reflection or affirmation. In recognition of the diversity of beliefs, cultures and perspectives within our community, this evening's affirmation will be read by Councillor Yim of the City of Greater Dandenong. Councillor Yim.
Greater Dandenong has long been a place of arrival, welcome and new beginnings. People have come here from every part of the world seeking safety, work and belonging. We affirm that this diversity is a strength rather than a difficulty. Let our conduct tonight reflect the harmony that our community has worked hard to build.
Thank you, Councillor Yim. Before I continue, I would like to acknowledge the passing of Ann Nguyen, a deeply respected member of the Greater Dandenong community and a City of Greater Dandenong living treasure since 1999, recognised for her outstanding service and lasting contribution to our city. Ann was born in Vietnam and arrived in Springvale from a Malaysian refugee camp in 1982. Drawing on her own experience of settling in a new country, she dedicated her life to supporting migrant and refugee families to build strong and connected lives here in Greater Dandenong. Through her tireless work with the Springvale Indo-Chinese Mutual Assistance Association, known as SIGMA, and as one of the first Vietnamese women employed in the community welfare in our city, Anne became a trusted advocate, mentor and friend to countless individuals and families. She helped people navigate new beginnings, strengthened community connections, and fostered understanding across cultures. Anne was a woman of strength, compassion, and humility. While she never sought recognition, her impact was profound. Her legacy lives on in the many lives she touched and the stronger, more inclusive community she helped create. On behalf of the City of Greater Dandenong, I extend our sincere condolences to Anne's family, friends, and all those who knew and loved her. We thank her for her remarkable service and enduring contribution to our community. Anne will be remembered with great affection, gratitude, and respect. Item 1.5, confirmation of minutes of previous meetings. Can I please get a mover?
Happy to move it.
Moved by Councillor Milkovich. Can I please get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Yim. Any questions? Is there any opposition? If there's no opposition, I declare that item passed unanimously. Item 1.6, disclosures of interest. CEO.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. No one has registered any disclosures of interest with me for this evening.
Thank you very much. Item 1.7, adoption of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting minutes. Can I please get a mover? Moved by Councillor O'Reilly and seconded by Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? Question, Councillor Garrard?
I'd just like to have added that I have resigned as a councillor from the Audit and Risk Committee, and I just request that that be added as an addendum to the minutes.
Were there any other questions or comments? Is there any opposition? As there is no opposition, I declare the item passed unanimously. Item 2.1, petitions and joint letters. Item 2.1.1, petitions and joint letters. Can I please get a mover?
Happy to move that.
Moved by Councillor Formosa and seconded by Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there is no opposition, I declare that item carried. Item 2.2, statutory planning applications. 2.2.1, planning delegated decisions issued June 2026. Can I please get a mover? Moved by Councillor Garrard.
Happy to second.
Seconded by Councillor Milkovich. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare the item carried. Item number 3, public question time.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The questions submitted for consideration at this meeting may contain the opinions, assertions or views expressed by the individuals who have submitted them. Council wishes to make it clear that the tabling of these questions does not constitute an endorsement, adoption or expression of support by the Council for any opinion or view contained within them. Our first question this evening is from Gay Guest of Keysborough, and it covers concerns over heritage overlay delays, CHAC consultation and protection of significant heritage sites. Tonight, as you consider item 4.2.1, I wonder why it's taken so long for the 18 additional changes to come to Council again. This was talked about with the previous CHAC committee, and the present CHAC has no knowledge of these changes, nor has it been spoken to about in their meetings before coming to this council meeting. We have critical heritage infrastructure needed to be added to the local heritage overlay as soon as possible, and it seems council and councillors are hell-bent in stalling this process and not appreciating the fact that our heritage must be preserved at all costs. Reading the agenda item, I ask the following. Question 1. Does the International Harvest, Hines and GMH sites still qualify, given that the IH developer went through another avenue to get the plans approved, now in construction, and are all the trees still standing on site? Given the heightened interest in both our historical societies to prove critical history facts and connections to inquiries, Council can no longer be a slow-moving train on this issue. The second question, how long will this take to be gazetted now when it should have already been? And does the sites I have mentioned now negate the work that was done in 2024 and that you are considering tonight? Can I ask our Acting Director for City Futures, Mr Jackson, to respond?
Through you, Mayor, and thank you for the questions, Ms Guest. In relation to question 1, I can confirm that the International Harvest, Hines and GM site all remain subject to the heritage overlay, and as part of the planning applications that were assessed by the Minister for Planning, the heritage values were considered, with several key heritage elements being retained or repurposed as part of these developments. In terms of the vegetation, the majority of trees have been retained, with 28 significant trees retained on site. This is evidenced by the amount of trees retained along the Princes Highway frontage and throughout the site. The development has also been designed to accommodate and protect these retained trees during both the construction phase and the ongoing operation of the development. With regards to the comment regarding timeframes, Council has continued to process this matter in a timely manner, with considerable work being required to be undertaken to resolve a submission received in response to the consultation period for this heritage overlay review. And in response to question 2, should this item be adopted as per the officer recommendation tonight, officers will forward this to the Minister for Planning for gazettal into the planning scheme expediently. The timeframe for the Minister's decision will then be at the discretion of DTP and the Minister. However, Council will advocate for this to be processed as quickly as possible. In terms of the review itself, it does remain current and appropriate to be adopted and forwarded to the Minister for Planning for approval, should Council be minded to do so when this is considered later in the agenda. Thank you.
CEO?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And our next question is also from Gay Guest of Keysborough, and it concerns adding significant heritage assets to the heritage overlay and preserving Dandenong's history. When can other heritage significant infrastructure be added to our local heritage overlay, and what would be the process and timeline? After hearing Simon McKeon talk about his family's local chemist history at Dandenong District Historical Society luncheon at the weekend, the Vanity Lane pictorial history installation must be told somewhere in Dandenong, given the family had 3 chemist shots after the Cuvée family, and it's devastating that budget misdemeanours can this important project. Council and councillors must do better around our heritage, because once it's gone, and our forefathers were brilliant in what they achieved. Yet many refuse to recognise the significance falling on their sword every time because of a lack of interest, knowledge and budget constraints. It is happening every time heritage is raised as a topic. Can I ask our Acting Director, Mr Jackson, to respond, please?
Through you, Mayor, and again, thank you for the question, Ms Guest. Council previously agreed to pursue the review of the current sites within the heritage overlay, which, as I mentioned earlier, is being considered later in tonight's agenda. Once this review is complete and gazetted into the scheme, Council may then consider commencing a further process to potentially add any appropriate sites to the heritage overlay. To do this, Council's existing environmental history documentation would need to be fully updated. Following this, a community consultation process undertaken to identify potential new sites, with each of these to be reviewed by a heritage expert to confirm its heritage value. A planning scheme amendment would then be required to include the agreed sites into the planning scheme. It is important to note that this is a complex, costly and time-intensive process, and this would need to be considered in light of other priorities.
Thank you, Mr Jackson. CEO.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And our last question this evening is from Terry of Keysborough, and it concerns squash courts closure and concerns over council spending. Given at the last council meeting, several councillors stated the retaining of the squash courts is not viable due to costs and the council being in debt millions of dollars. So his question: why does the community have to lose a valuable asset like our squash courts due to what seems to be mismanagement of resident money? Can I ask Ms Peter Gillies, Executive Director, Community Strengthening, to respond, please?
Through you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Terry, for your question. In developing Council's aquatic strategy and planning for the new Dandenong Oasis, Council considered participation trends across all services and facilities. The evidence indicated that squash participation was declining both at a local and a state level, while demand for other aquatic health, fitness and wellbeing services were growing. Given Council has finite resources and must prioritise, Council made decisions about the allocation of space and investment based on meeting the broader community demand and delivering the greatest overall community benefit through the new facility. Council will debate this matter again in item 5.1 of the agenda this evening, and officers will implement Council's decision accordingly.
Thank you very much, Ms Gillies. On to the next item. Item 4, Officers' Reports, Part 2. 4.1, Procurement. 4.1.1, Facilities, Maintenance and Management Services, Contract Extension. Can I please get a mover? Moved by Councillor Garrard. Can I please get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor O'Reilly. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? You have a question, Councillor Formoso?
Yeah, thanks, Deputy Mayor. I was just wondering if we could defer this item to the end of the meeting, being a confidential item, just in relation to some questions that I have. So if we could please do that, I can get someone to move that for me. Thanks.
So for those, just to regroup, Councillor Formoso has requested a deferral for the item. I believe Councillor to discuss in confidential business. That's moved by Councillor Formoso. Can I just get someone to second that, please? Seconded by Councillor Garrard. All those in favour of discussing that in for confidential business, please raise your hand. Yep. Is there any opposition at all? No opposition. I declare that motion passed. We'll now go into council. Say that again. Sorry. So we'll now go into confidentiality mode to allow the questions to be asked. Understood. Apologies for that confusion, everyone. We will discuss it at the end of the meeting. Thank you. Yeah.
A question on process. Will that be held in camera?
That's correct. It will be
Okay.
held in camera.
Sorry,
Yeah.
didn't hear it.
No worries. Thank you. Item 4.1.2, concrete drainage and asphalt maintenance services, contract extension. Can I please get a mover for that one? Moved by Councillor Garrard. Can I please get a seconder? Can I please get a seconder, councillors? Seconded by Councillor O'Reilly. Any questions? Councillor Garrard.
And Deputy Mayor, I'll just draw your attention to Isabella, who's frequently been putting her hand up. My question relates to the report states that complaints relating to road, footpath and drainage defects have been reduced across the life of this contract. My question twofold, is that only in terms of response times, but not the quality of the works? And is that measured from the commencement of the contract in November 2023? And could officers provide the complaint numbers or percentage reduction over that period of time?
So, Mr. Jackson.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you for the question, Councillor Garrard. Yes, it does relate from the start of the contract up until now. In terms of exact numbers, we would need to provide you with that moving forward. However, obviously we do ideally need to make a decision on this tonight because the contract does end shortly and we need to have that continuation. And in terms of the KPIs, that is in relation to response timeframes.
I'm happy to proceed, but going forward, if officers do indicate there's data to substantiate their recommendation, can we please have that data in future? Otherwise, we are making decisions going blind.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Were there any other questions? Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. A question to relevant officer in regards to the quality of the work carried out by the contractors in general, not any particular one. Does council officers conduct any spot checks, quality controls in regards to the hardness of the concrete, duration of the repairs or the resurfacing, etc.? And if not, why not?
Mr. Jackson.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you for the question, Councillor Milkovich. Yes, spot checks are undertaken randomly in terms of those works to make sure they are up to appropriate standards, so that does occur, yes.
Can I ask, supplementary to that, what exact checks are actually carried out? The question I'm asking is that it seems to be that the concrete in a lot of places, particularly in the curb and channels in place, is that it just doesn't seem to last as it did 40, 50 years ago. Do we actually check the hardness of the concrete, what's delivered, what's actually installed, or do we just take the contractor's word, with no offence to them?
Mr. Jackson.
Sorry. Again, through you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, I mean, certainly in terms of ensuring standards are met and council standards are met, that is ensured that does occur through all the... There are obviously a variety of different processes through this in terms of drainage, concrete, etc. But all the standards, we make sure that they are met when we undertake those checks. So, yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, sorry, that still kind of doesn't answer. What I'm specifically asking for is that do we ever get a concrete poured into a pot and test it in a laboratory to make sure that it's of the certain MPA requirement as for the purpose intended? To be more specific.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, I would need to take that question on notice to confirm if there was any laboratory type testing done, but certainly on site the works are inspected to make sure they are to standards. So I'm happy to come back to you on that if that would be ideal.
Yeah, please, if you can.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, can I just add to that? The question you could be asking could be around the fact that the quality that is specified within the contract, like the officers are very confident that the standard that is provided for in the contract is being met. But what you may be referring to is maybe 20 years ago, a higher standard was cited as part of the contract and that could be the case. But that's a different question. At the moment, the question is about the current contractor and extending the current contract, and it's clear that officers are satisfied that the current contract is being delivered, and we're satisfied that with the contractor. However, that's not to say that officers wouldn't be happy to provide a report on the standard that's currently provided for that particular asset, and perhaps the standard needs reviewing for the asset. And then we could ask our contractor to up the standard if that was something we wanted.
That's fine. Yes, that's part of the question. However, a standard can be anything written on a piece of paper. What I'm asking really is what is being poured that's delivered from the concrete plant, because you can have anything written on a piece of paper. I can sign off a waterproofing and say it's all hunky-dory, like a lot of buildings in Dandenong have 20 years ago, and then the water's going through like a sieve. What I'm actually asking is, what are we getting delivered? Because it's not hard to test concrete. I mean, we all watch documentaries and bits and pieces. You get a bit of concrete, take it to the lab, they put a pressure on it, determine what pressure is it. And I would like to know if the actual document that's from the delivery plant, from the concrete plant, matches our standard, but more so to the point, is it actually satisfactory to the prescribed thing that the plant said that they've delivered? That's the question. That is what I'm asking. I understand the standards have been met, but it's just basically taking the word of the contractor. Here it is, it's MPA such and such. Yeah, cool, not a problem, you can deliver it. But is the concrete actually of the particular hardness so we make sure that it is as durable as what it was 10, 20, 30 years ago, or is it as durable as what we have prescribed in the standard that we have actually delivered to our residents as value for money? That's my question.
Deputy Mayor, before the officer replies, can I just suggest that what Councillor Milkovich is suggesting also goes to my question, which is around we do not seem to have any data around complaints relating to quality or the sustainability of the works. So we are flying blind, being asked to support a contract when we don't really have robust data on the performance. We have responsive times. I understand the reduction in complaints is around the response times, but not the quality of the work. And I'm wondering if these are serious enough to suggest a delay in response, delay in passing this item until we are finished with that information, to which I would ask, what would be the implication of deferring this to the next meeting?
Mr. Jackson.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. There could be quite significant impacts if this is delayed to the next council meeting. If it is, then we won't have a contract in place for a period of time where we'll be able to do any maintenance works, which obviously comes with some concerns. In terms of this item tonight, it is just in relation to a final 1-year extension. Part of what we're looking to do over the next 12 months is to develop more modern standards and contracts to ensure there are more detailed KPIs and the like, which I think Councillor Milkovich was talking to as well. So that is the intention over the next 12 months, is to go back out to the market with more detailed KPIs, more modern contract that can ensure that the items that are being discussed tonight are adequately being able to dealt with.
And through you, Deputy Mayor, can I just reassure to councillors that our engineers that are responsible for oversight of our road construction are qualified civil engineers. They undertake this work very seriously. They operate to a group of standards that is appropriate across all local governments. And as Mr. Jackson just outlined, if we don't have confidence in our engineers and their oversight in regards to contracts, then we've probably got some...
Can I just push back on that, CEO? Nobody here suggested we don't have confidence in our engineers. What we are asking, which is, I think, an appropriate governance question, both of us, is around being provided with enough information to be able to make a informed decision. I do push back on the suggestion that we are casting aspersions on the qualification or the skills of our engineers. We're certainly not. But I think it is good governance for us to be able to ask for information that allows us to make an informed decision. So I do push back on what you're saying, CEO, but I'm happy, I accept what the officer is saying. This is a 1-year extension. We will look to improve our processes going forward, and therefore I'm happy to proceed.
Thank you very much. Were there any other questions or comments at all? If not, is there any opposition? As there is no opposition, this item carries. Item 4.2, Policy and Strategy. 4.2.1, Heritage Overlay Review Update. Can I please get a mover? Moved by Councillor Garrard. Can I please get a seconder?
Councillor O'Reilly.
Seconded by Councillor O'Reilly. Are there any questions?
Can officers just explain that this is merely a procedural motion in essence, and there is no change to the items that have been listed?
Mr. Jackson.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you for the question, Councillor Garrard. Yes, this is purely a review of existing sites within the heritage overlay, and has identified that 18 sites need to be updated to ensure their heritage controls meet the current situation on site. It's not proposing to add any additional sites at this point in time.
Thank you very much. Were there any other questions? Is there any opposition? As there is no opposition, the item carries. Item 4.2.2, Review of Council Policies, Abolition of Catering and Civic Support Policy. Can I please get a mover? Moved by Councillor Garrard. Can I please get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Doe. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there is no opposition, I declare the item carried. Item 4.2.3, Child Safety and Wellbeing Policy Update. Can I please get a mover?
Happy to move that, Deputy.
Moved by Councillor Formoso and seconded by Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Are there any opposition? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, the item carries unanimously. 4.2.4, Sponsorship and Advertising Policy Update. Can I please get a mover? Moved by Councillor Garrard. Can I please get a seconder?
Councillor O'Reilly.
Seconded by Councillor O'Reilly. Are there any questions? Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. My question, firstly, I want to thank the officers for strengthening this policy. I think it's a much stronger policy in terms of accountability and transparency. There was one question I had regarding the sponsorship from property developers, which it states should be considered carefully due to perceived conflicts. My question is, who makes that assessment, and do we have enough criteria, a transparent criteria on which that decision would be made?
Mr. Jari.
To you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Garrard, for your question. As you see in the report, we have extensive criteria for that, depending on the level of the sponsorship and also like the conflict of interest, as it says, the council will decide if we go ahead with the sponsorship.
Developers will be treated the same.
Exactly. All have the criteria for all of the people that we want to do.
Do you have any other questions, Councillor Garrard? No other questions. Were there any other questions? Is there any opposition? As there is no opposition, the item carries. 4.3 Other. 4.3.1 Dandenong Market Precincts Plan, final draft for adoption. Can I please get a mover? Moved by Councillor O'Reilly. Can I please get a seconder, councillors? Is there a councillor ready to second the item? As the item does not have a seconder, the item, I believe, will now lapse, and the item lapses. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you. I was going to oppose the motion, and given that it has lapsed, I'm quite pleased because I have some genuine concerns, and I do think that we need to send this back to get a range of answers. We understand, whilst we all support the revitalisation of the Dandenong market, there are a number of serious questions that are not answered in this plan, mostly around who pays for it. And given that we don't have $1 billion, the state government doesn't have $1 billion, it's very likely to be developers. What's really unclear is what the developers get out of this, and if this is just not a transfer of public ownership into private. So I have a series of governance questions that if I can forward to the appropriate person, so that when this item returns, if we could have far more clarity about what the community gets as a quid pro quo when there is developer interest in these sites.
Were there any other questions or comments at all?
Yes, if
Yep,
I
Councillor
could.
Formosa.
Yeah, just to continue on from what Councillor Garrard has just stated, my biggest concern and something that I couldn't see in the report was really about housing as well. And so I'd like a little bit more clarity and understanding in terms of what the requirements around that space will look like.
Thank you, Councillor Formoso. Any other questions or comments? If not, we'll move on to the next item, 4.3.2, Draft LGBTIQA+ Action Plan 2026 to 2028. Can I please get a mover? Moved by Councillor Garrard.
Happy
Can I
to
please
second
seconded by Councillor Doe. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there is no opposition, the item carries. Item 4.3.3, Advisory Committee Meetings Draft Minutes. Can I please get a mover? Moved by Councillor Garrard. Can I please get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Yim. Are there any questions? As there are no questions, is there any opposition? As there is no opposition, I declare the item carried. Item 4.3.4, Draft Multicultural and People Seeking Asylum Advisory Committee Minutes. Can I please get a mover?
Happy to move that.
Moved by Councillor Formoso and seconded by Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare the item carried. Item 4.3.5, Draft LGBTIQA+ Advisory Committee Minutes. Can I please get a mover? Moved by Councillor Garrard. Can I please get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Yim. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare the item carried. 4.3.6, Report on Councillor Attendance at the Australian Local Government Association 2026 National General Assembly.
Councillor O'Reilly.
Moved by Councillor O'Reilly. Can I please get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Yim. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare the item carried. Item 4.3.7, Municipal Association of Victoria Delegates Report. Can I please get a mover?
Councillor O'Reilly.
Moved by Councillor O'Reilly. Can I please get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Yim. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare the item carried. Item 4.3.8, Native Title. Can I please get a mover? Moved by Councillor Garrard. Can I please get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Doe. Are there any questions? Was that a hand up, Councillor Milkovich? Councillor Garrard?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just a quick question, just to clarify, if officers just can clarify that this is essentially a dispute between the State of Victoria and the Wurundjeri people, and that the Council is simply seeking a seat at the table through this motion.
Mr. Rosier?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, that is correct.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? Is there any opposition? As there is no opposition, the item carries. Item 4.3.9, Report on matters discussed at councillor briefing sessions and pre-council meetings. Can I please get a mover? Moved by Councillor Yim. Can I please get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? There's no opposition. I declare the item carried. Item 4.3.10, List of registered correspondence to mayor and councillors. Can I please get a mover? Moved by Councillor Garrard. Can I please get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Yim. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? There's no opposition. I declare the item carried.
Great.
Councillor Formosa.
Sorry about the delay, Deputy Mayor. I was just asking, I couldn't find the page. I wanted to ask a question in relation to an alleged cleanliness and hygiene maintenance issue at Noble Park Aquatic Centre, and if that matter has been resolved, please.
Ms. Gillies.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. Thanks very much, Councillor Formoso, for your question. Certainly the complaint was taken very seriously and investigated, and we've provided a comprehensive response back to the complainant. I can confirm our environmental health officers did inspect the facility and there was no public health risk identified at the time. However, we do take all feedback seriously, as do South East Leisure, and will continue to monitor accordingly.
Thank you. 5. Notices of motion. Item 5.1, notice of motion number 23, rescission motion in relation to Oasis Squash Courts. It's moved by Councillor Garrard. Is there a seconder?
Seconding that.
Seconded by Councillor Formoso. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition?
Opposed?
There is opposition. Opposed by Councillor O'Reilly. So I will now give the floor to Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. This motion before us today does not commit the council to rebuilding or seriously upgrading these squash courts. The existing squash courts are in very good condition and will likely continue that way for a number of years. So we are not asking you to build these squash courts. We're not asking you for significant funding for these squash courts. We are simply asking here today that you just leave them alone. So the choice is not between spending millions on upgrades or demolishing it. There is a third option: to retain a functional community asset that is greatly valued and greatly loved by a number of our community, and to leave it where it is. Last time we heard this motion, we were told there was 13% usage rate. However, we have been furnished with per head data subsequently, and when you use that data and take it across the evenings and weekends, which are the high usage times, we actually arrive at a figure closer to 33% usage, which I think significantly shifts the argument here around usage and how much this is valued. Taking into account the squash courts have never been promoted. You will not find them on the website. Only people with inside information actually know they're there. So given all of that kind of neglect around promotion, we still have a very high utilisation rate, particularly amongst one demographic. The one demographic that are listed in our physical movement policy as a demographic that does not undertake a lot of physical activity. That is middle-aged men. These squash courts are highly utilised by middle-aged men, which we all know are the highest risk demographic for cardiac disease, obesity and depression. And this group that use this squash court are in fact minimising their risk of all of that. And so in one policy we're saying we need to get this group mobilised and they are high risk for a number of health issues. And on the other hand, where they're utilising one of our assets which is in very good condition, we're saying no. And so we're saying no to squash, but we're saying yes to table tennis. We're saying yes to swimming pool and yes to hockey, but no to squash. How is that fair? How is that equitable and how is that fair? So all this motion is asking is that we just do a little bit of investigation, which the cost of which is only slightly higher than it costs to send 8 councillors to a national conference. And so not a lot to ask. And we have seen through the petition process and through the number of people that have repeatedly come to this council meeting that there is a high number of people from the community who pay their rates who are saying to you, please just leave it alone. Just give a small amount of money to do some investigation about keeping the lights on and then just leave it alone. It could not be a more simple ask. And it is extraordinary that you would pull this down when...
1 minute.
1 minute. You would pull this down when it is well-loved, well-needed, doing an important job, and at some point down the track, you'll probably have to rebuild it. So all you have to do is take your hands off it. It's a simple ask. And the people are begging you to let it be. It's a small amount of money just to see what it would take to close off sections of the building and just leave that alone. It's going to cost $2 million to demolish it. We don't have it. We don't have a lazy $2 million sitting around. So the issue is not relevant anyway. So all you have to do is just release a little bit of money, as I say, just a little bit more than it costs to send us to the national conference, just to have a look and see what it would take.
10
Not
seconds.
a big ask. And so I urge all councillors to consider deeply why you would be pulling down a robust and fit for purpose and well-loved community asset.
That's time.
Thank you.
Councillor Garrett, thank you. Councillor Formosa? Seconder.
Oh, me, okay, sorry. Yes, once again, I'm standing here having the exact same conversation that we were having not so long ago in relation to this issue. Once again, having real difficulty accepting this as it is at the moment. As I mentioned previously, I've gotten on council specifically to ensure that we become an active community, as we are the least active community in all of Australia. Here we are coming up with all sorts of strategies and promotions to increase participation, and yet here we are considering demolishing an existing facility that's doing its job. It's keeping people active, it's keeping people connected, and we're really, really considering taking that away. This motion is definitely not about stopping or delaying the entire development. It's just ensuring that council has the right information before we make an irreversible decision, really. Once this is done, it's done, and unlikely to be replaced. So we really owe it to our community to make this decision based on evidence and not assumptions. If we are talking about the proposed expenditure of $32,000 to $46,000 to invest in this feasibility study, that's 0.04% of the $122 million investment that we are making in this building. So to me, that is a little bit absurd, and I'm not great at maths, but that's a very small price to pay to ensure that we are getting full participation of these facilities. And then why can't we then consider beyond squash? So these courts can be a potential partnership with other sporting organisations, other community groups, private operators. We can also discuss the interesting sport that we have that is extremely popular at the moment, pickleball, must I say it, and other recreation activities that we could use in this space as well. The true capital and operating costs of retention versus demolition, I mean, it's really a no-brainer in my view. I just think that, you know, this is about making the best possible decision for our community before removing a long-standing community facility. We should really fully understand its use, its value, its impact, its loss if we were to do this. So once these courts are gone, like I said, they're gone forever, and I just don't think I can really sit with that, Deputy Mayor. I think it's really, really important that our community has a decision based on evidence, transparency, and good governance. This is just not data that we had earlier in the mix, and that's obviously what Councillor O'Reilly's argument's going to be, is that we've had the opportunity to have these conversations, but the truth of the matter is that we haven't had these opportunities because no one gave us that information for us to be able to have an informed decision. So again, in good conscience, I cannot stand here and say, let's abolish the squash courts, because I can't do that, and neither can we as elected representatives, especially those that believe that they're in it for the right reasons, that they're in it for the community, and that they understand the significance of the lack of sport and sport participation.
10 seconds,
Yeah,
Councillor.
sport participation within our community. Once again, PE health teacher, how can I possibly stand here and say that this is acceptable? I'll ask for an extended minute if I could, please.
I move for Councillor Garrett. Yep. All those in favour of the extension? Pass unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. So again, the reason I am going to ask for that extra minute, Deputy Mayor, is because we really must make an informed decision. This is it. We have to have a complete and accurate understanding before making an irreversible decision. It's already there. We're not asking to build something else or to add anything else to this $22 million investment. It's leave it as it is. Let's think about ways where we can utilise that space a little bit better, capitalise on usage throughout the day. There's 99 schools in this community. How many of them do you think are able to use that facility during the day? These current utilisation, this utilisation data that we have, I don't necessarily believe is accurate, and I'm still waiting to receive more of that information, which we haven't yet received. So again, in good conscience and in good governance, we cannot possibly make this decision to demolish these courts. We must really look at ways that we can keep it, just as we have with the table tennis courts. And I believe everyone in this room supported the table tennis as well. So we're in a very similar situation, if not the same. They have an adjoining wall.
1 minute, Councillor.
It's basically the same facility. And yeah, I really, really hope that my fellow councillors can understand and appreciate the significance of this matter. It's absolutely critical that we make the right one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Formoso. Councillor O'Reilly in opposition.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Well, a lot of the arguments made at the last council meeting. So for this rescission motion, Deputy Mayor, I was hoping for evidence to further support the retention of the squash courts
We haven't
to be
received
brought
that.
by
We haven't received that, Councillor O'Reilly.
by the proponents of the squash courts, but the actual increased amount of evidence we've received actually points in the direction that the squash court use is declining. So it's even clearer to me, and should be to other councillors at this meeting, that squash is declining. It's even clearer than last meeting. So there's been a number of things that the proponents have said that are just absolutely incorrect in terms of the data and the evidence. And I think as councillors, what we should always...
Deputy, point of order.
Councillor O'Reilly, can you please resume your seat? What is your point of order,
My
Councillor
point of
Formoso?
order is if Councillor O'Reilly could actually stipulate what parts of what we have said this evening that aren't actually accurate, please.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Well, for example, Councillor Formoso said that these squash courts can be retained similar to the table tennis, when everybody knows, and it's been repeated, that table tennis is in a standalone building. So that is highly inaccurate. And there's a whole lot of other things, Deputy Mayor, but I think overall what it comes down to, as I've said, is...
Councillor O'Reilly, before you continue, my decision on that point of order was that I accept your explanation, and I believe that you were continuing to elaborate on your point, so you may continue. Thank you. I was satisfied with Councillor O'Reilly's response, and I believe that he was continuing to elaborate on his point. So that's my ruling.
Point of order.
And Councillor O'Reilly will continue his speech.
His assertion was incorrect is verifiably
I've made
false.
Councillor Garrard, please resume your
Elaboration is
seat.
not-
Please resume your seat. I've made my decision on the ruling. And Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Well, we are allowed to disagree, and you can have a particular opinion. I can say, and I can proffer a different view of the facts, and that's really what I was saying. We can say, well, it's only $30,000, $50,000, but what it inevitably points towards is ending up with 2 Dandenong oases in perpetuity, and that will mean 2 heating systems, 2 entry systems, 2 security considerations in perpetuity with 2 huge complexes side by side. And Deputy Mayor, with every decision that we make, there is a benefit and also a cost. And what we spend on a declining sport such as squash, we then don't spend on other sports that we're struggling to catch up with spending on, some of the sports that are increasing in participation, Deputy Mayor. So we don't have an unlimited amount of money to spend on the sports that are in the evidence declining, and I think councillors should be really aware that we have to be financially prudent, and any decision that leads us towards 2 Dandenong oases, extension
1 minute.
of 1 minute, please.
Can I get a mover for the extension? Councillor Milkovich. Can I please get a seconder for the extension, please? Seconded by Councillor Doe. Any opposition? As there's no opposition, Councillor O'Reilly gets his 2-minute extension.
And just wrapping up, Deputy Mayor, financial responsibility. This council is already going to be paying $28 million of debt, interest on our debt in the next 5 years. We just cannot keep on spending on every single opportunity that comes up. We do have to make hard decisions. This was decided back at the design of the new Dandenong Wellbeing Centre or Dandenong Oasis. It was decided then, and I think the difficult decision is to stick with that decision and not keep on adding money to the debt pile. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. Were there any other speakers? Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm not going to repeat what the Councillor Sean O'Reilly has mentioned. I will, however, mention that while this has caused a fair bit of stir now at the 11th hour, I'm a little bit curious as to how this has come about, because both Councillor Formoso and Councillor Garrard, as far as I know, were members of the MPAG, which is Mills Precinct Action Group, since I think July 2021 or 2022. And I'm sure this would have come about at some stage in conversation. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yep.
But
Can I just, if I could, Councillor Milkovich, no mention ever of the squash courts, and that's data and information that I've been trying to ascertain since this has all come about. So just to
not mentioning
clarify
squash
that.
courts,
Nothing.
mentioning of the actual plans and what the original plans that were. Yeah.
So just one at a
when
time,
the
please.
design was created and was presented to the MPAG members, which was well known to everybody, every resident in the city of Greater Dandenong, it always from the start included the demolition of the old oasis, notwithstanding the table tennis. This is as far as I understand. Now, table tennis association rooms are adjacent to Dandenong Oasis. Now, we had discussion last time at the council meetings that not only it's impractical to keep the squash courts open, it is almost impossible. You have one brand new oasis on one side and a little part that's not demolished or partly demolished on the other side. everybody knows that this just can't function. Now, to ask our residents to commit between 32 to 46,000 or whatever amount of money to something that was decided years ago, that all the councillors voted in favour, including Councillor Garrett and Councillor Formosa, in progression of this particular plan for the building of new oasis and demolishing of the old part, it just bedazzles me. I understand that there's concern, I understand that there's squash court users, but not even to talk about participation. The plans were made in 2019. Certain councillors were the members of the MPEG working group. No one has picked this up along the way or questioned, hey, why are we going to demolish these when obviously they're clearly marked for demolition, only to now raise the concerns at the 11th hour, asking for this to be further delayed, further investigated, further money spent on it to the benefit of no one. It really is quite concerning that these things get raised at such a late notice. And I'm not sure what the motivation is. I understand that there is desire from certain members of the community to keep the squash courts. That's absolutely fine. But plans have been in existence for 7 years now. We all knew what was happening. We all knew what was going on. We all knew what was earmarked for demolition and what was earmarked for construction. So we can't just at every step change our minds and commit residents' money to spend more money on projects, on what are they called, infrastructure, the feasibility studies, etc., when we knew what was going to happen. The project has to continue. It's only common sense that it continues in the form that it is now. The table tennis stays and the rest of the oasis, which was only adjacent to it, gets demolished. So I urge my fellow councillors to vote against the rescission motion in relation to oasis squash courts. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. Were there any further speakers? No other speakers. Right of reply, Councillor Garrett.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillors, I have one request for you tonight. Don't squash the squash courts. Sean, I didn't get that from ChatGPT either. Don't break the hearts of our community that really care about this. Yes, a decision was made, but we were told there was no interest. We now understand that was not correct. There's very strong interest. And in fact, some of the participation rates are higher than some of our other sporting facilities. In terms of another entry system, another heating system, no, because it will be using the same as the table tennis. So that's a furphy. We're not running two separate centres. That's a furphy because we will be blocking off large parts of, yes, that's correct. That's correct. But Councillor O'Reilly.
No, point of interest. Point of order, sorry, point of order.
Yes, Councillor Milkovich.
The information is incorrect, Councillor Garrett.
I will respond to your question.
Well, no.
Sorry, one at a time, please. Councillor Milkovich, what's your point of order?
The information is factually incorrect. The entrance to the actual oasis is not through the Table Tennis Association rooms. It's actually through the main entrance of Dandenong Oasis, current Dandenong Oasis. It's not, they are adjacent, they're not interconnected.
I'm wary about this moving into debate. On the point of order, Councillor Garrett, can you please? He's asserting interpretation of the facts that you presented. I'll give you the opportunity just to respond to
so
that.
if I elaborate...
Yeah, of course. Yeah, please.
Okay, so
yeah.
I'll just
Well,
keep elaborating and you'll...
Can you please just directly respond to Councillor Milkovich and then we can continue.
Sorry, I can just keep going.
Please just respond directly to the point of order and then I'll make
So
my...
my understanding is, because I have been working with the Table Tennis Centre, that the main entrance will be the entrance that will be used. In terms of heating, that will be worked out. But the point is, Councillor O'Reilly is asking for evidence and that we are providing an evidence-free argument. This is about a feasibility study that will give us that.
Thank you, Councillor Garrett. Look, my ruling on that is that you are simply outlining your interpretation of your point of view, and there's still time remaining to continue with your points. So I'll allow you to continue with your speech.
Right. The other point is that squash is on the decline. I do refute that in terms of the city of Greater Dandenong, but as Councillor Formosa pointed out, pickleball is one of the most highest increasing sports, which will be also appropriate use of this facility. The two alternatives that are provided by officers are not alternatives. One is all the way at Monash University, which is a highly utilised site. The other one is private and very costly. So there are no alternatives. This is the only council-owned squash court facility in this area. And it is the Dandenong residents that are coming together in Dandenong. They are a tight social group. They are supporting each other's mental health. They're providing social support and they're getting fit at the same time. It's really healthy stuff. All we're asking is for a little bit of money just to work out what it will take to keep this open for longer. We're not saying for 30 years, 20 years. We're just saying for a period of time. So I think it is really insincere for Councillor O'Reilly to say we'll be running two swimming centres or two Oasis centres. We will be running a table tennis centre and a squash centre co-located, and it makes sense to keep it going. So I urge everyone here, just vote to get more information. That's all we're doing here. It's a small feasibility study just to get more information about what is involved, and you will not break the hearts of the community. So,
1 minute, Councillor
in finishing,
Garrard.
I would ask, please, do not squash the squash group.
Thank you. All those in favour of the rescission motion, please raise your hand. Councillor Garrard, Councillor Formoso, Councillor Doe, and Councillor Lair. All those against, please raise your hands. Councillor Yim, Councillor Dan, Councillor Milkovich, Councillor O'Reilly. As I have the chair, the tie-break is that the rescission motion fails. Item 5.2, Notice of Motion number 24. Review of funding arrangements for historical societies. Can I please get a mover?
Councillor
Councillor
O'Reilly.
O'Reilly. Can I please get a seconder? Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there is no opposition, I declare the item carried. Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Our historical societies are well loved within the City of Greater Dandenong for what they do and the essential thing of maintaining and preserving this municipality and its community's history. Now, they've had to contend with, my understanding is, and this is something that will come back into a report for councillors, no baseline funding as such. They've had to apply through the community grants process, and quite a bit of the activity of the historical societies is ongoing. You'll notice, Deputy Mayor, that they produce information for the Dandenong Journal, I think every issue. They also provide services to this council itself on a regular basis, yet my understanding is they receive no regular funding, Deputy Mayor, so I don't think that those two things match up, and I'm happy that councillors support our historical societies, which, as I've mentioned, are dedicated volunteers. I'm happy that councillors have supported that, the activities they do and the funding of those activities being investigated and brought back to council for consideration. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Garrard.
I would also like to thank councillors for supporting this motion, and also like to acknowledge the tremendous amount of work that is done by the Historical Society. And I would like to refute the notion that this is kind of extracurricular. This is essential work. It is about the history of our municipality, and it is in large part done by volunteers. A lot of those volunteers are now ageing, as they will admit, and we don't really have a good plan about how we're going to take on this work and make sure that it doesn't get lost. The Historical Society have had to apply for grants for basic infrastructure such as computers and so on. And so we really do need to consider how we can actually take some of the work, such as the digitalisation of a lot of our artefacts back into the council and take a lot of pressure off this society. And so I welcome the opportunity for councillors for officers to come back to us with some options around doing that. I think it's really critical that we do have the knowledge that the volunteers bring to this, but I think it's also important that we are not flogging them to death and that we're actually taking within council some of the drudgery work that they are currently doing. So I look forward to this report coming back.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Before we move on to the next item, 5.3, I would like to temporarily remove myself from the chair in order to discuss the item as permitted under the governance rules. I therefore request that the most recent previous mayor in attendance, Councillor Lana Formoso, to come and act as temporary chair for this item.
Okay, everyone. So we are now on item 5.3, a notice of motion number 25, councillor attendance at Australian Local Government Association ALGA conference. Do I have a mover for the motion, please? Councillor Garrard. Seconder for the motion? Councillor Doe. Thank you. Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a question for the mover. In April 2024, the mover stated that the National General Assembly is undeniably a junket and failed the pub test during a cost of living crisis. Does the mover still maintain this view?
I heard some of that I pushed back, I supported actually a motion to limit the number of councillors back in 2024 and did call this a junket when too many councillors are attending. I personally note that some of the councillors are very hard to find them actually at the conference. So I stand by that and happy to... was there another point was there anything else? That was it? No.
Yep, Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Chair. If it is the mover's view that the National General Assembly conference is undeniably a junket, why did the mover recently choose to attend this recent NGA at ratepayers' expense?
Madam Mayor, is this relevant to... I'm very happy to answer it, but is this relevant to the motion? Should we be getting on with the motion? This is nice foreplay, but I think...
Councillor Garrett, if you're not happy to answer the question, that's fine. I think it's a fair question if you're willing to answer it. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to.
I was very happy to attend because I wanted to support two of the motions we put up.
Yep, no worries, thank you. Any further questions? No. Is there any opposition? Councillor O'Reilly in opposition. Councillor Garrard, if you could speak to
Thank you, Madam Temporary Mayor. I'm not quite sure how to...
Just Chair.
I put up this motion because the community have told us loud and clear they're not happy with the amount of money we are spending on this. We sent 8 councillors at a cost of in excess of $25,000. A poll was held by the local newspaper. 75% opposed the council sending that number of councillors, and 25% opposed any councillors going. And I am increasingly on the side of the 25%. My motion asks, why do we actually have to attend? Why do we have to travel and have the expense of going to Canberra when we should be able to go in online and to vote and to make decisions at our national conference without excessive expense? Because of the cost, we find that rural councils actually don't send councillors at all. And so we have a disproportionate number of wealthier metro councils making all the decisions on behalf of rural councils. But aside from that inequity, there is almost no other council that sends more than 1, 2 or 3 councillors, with very few exceptions. For some reason, Dandenong historically has had a bit of a gravy train here, and it no longer fits with the perceptions of the community that this is excessive spending. Sure, we can send uncapped number of councillors, but it's not necessary. And in what other area of council do we send excessive amount of resources? If we have a pothole that 2 people can fix, we don't send 10. And if we did, Councillor Riley and Councillor Milkovich would be the first to push back on that level of inefficiency. We only need a mayor and another person to support the motions we put up. That is all that is required. All the rest is frippery. All the rest is unnecessary. We are now entering a time of real economic hardship for our residents. We know, and increasingly in the next 6 months, we are going to see tremendous hardship. We are asking our community to endure that financial hardship, but we are not prepared to take any cuts ourselves or to reflect in any way that our previous practices no longer pass the pub test. Now, the ALGA conference, let's be clear, it's not professional development. If you look at the website there, you'll see nothing about training or professional development. This is an advocacy networking conference. So it is not where people, councillors are getting competency and skills around how to do their job. That's not the purpose of it. It's not even written on the website. So let's not pretend that it's something that it isn't. What I'm proposing is let's listen to the community. Let's be accountable to our community who are saying, no, stop this. We are going to reduce the number to 3. We are going to ask that ALGA allow an online process where we can all watch what's going on and participate without the expense. And we are going to make sure that what we're doing is in line with community expectations. The community that pays for all of this. And so it is the right of the community to push back on it because they are the funders of this. So what I'm suggesting is that we are accountable to our community who through that poll were very clear that they do not support an excessive number of councillors going on an expense-paid trip to Canberra when very few other councils do this. And the reason they don't do it is because it is excessive. And so what I'm suggesting here today is let's be responsive, let's listen, and let's change our way. That's all we're asking for here. And I think it's appropriate. There's a rotational system, so everybody gets a go over the 4 years of the term. And I think that's fair on everyone, and I think it's something we can all live with. So I urge all the councillors to support this. This is about restraint, this is about accountability, and it is the right thing to do.
Thanks, Councillor Garrard. Councillor Doe as the seconder.
Thank you. So as a seconder and as a new councillor who did have the opportunity to attend the National General Assembly last year, I have both I think there will be points that I agree with the people debating against the motion, where it is a valuable experience, especially as a new councillor, especially for those who want to attend some of the sessions that are put up by the NGA, and then also the networking opportunities that are available when you go to the National General Assembly. I chose not to attend this year because we did have a substantial amount of councillors who were attending. And I understand that when we are putting a motion up, it is important to attend in order to be able to debate your motion in person. But that is also why I very highly support, us really advocating for this to be more accessible, either through hybrid or online models. As I know personally that there are regional councillors who have told me that they would have loved to attended the NGA, at least to experience it, and these were new councillors as well, so new councillors for this term. Or they would have loved to attend it, but that their colleagues and that their council did not believe that it was a cost that they could endure. So in terms of, those arguments, I am supporting that we do send no more than 3 councillors to the NGA, though I will note that there are, some fringe councils that do, of course, send more than 2 or 3 councillors, but I believe that the majority do send no more than 2. So perhaps that's an opportunity for us to be more, effective with both in terms of the councillors that we send and the time and energy that we spend at the NGA. And that is why I, in principle, support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Doe. Councillor Sean O'Reilly as the opposition.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I thank Councillor Doe for her frankness, because she actually made quite a few good points about the value of the conference to the individual participants, because I think how the mover of this motion is characterising the benefit is that it's just attributable to the council in its advocacy efforts, Chair, but as well as that, there is what I would call professional development, and contrary to what Councillor Garrard said, you can easily Google the agenda of the ALGA NGA and go through the topics, many of which are really core council issues and services. And as Councillor Doe said, particularly for new councillors, it's a great opportunity to listen to what peer councils are doing on many of the issues. So the contention is that if it's good for one councillor's development, why then it is also good for all those councillors that can avail themselves of the opportunity. And I know myself and others take annual leave from our full-time jobs to attend it because we do find it very valuable in a learning, networking, reflection on council issues, etc. So if this council just makes decisions based on what Councillor Garrard says is the pub test, then we are in real trouble, because you go into a pub and say, send an excessive number of councillors, of course, they're going to say no. But if you explain to people in the pub, I don't go to the pub much nowadays anymore, Chair, but if you go to the pub and explain the benefits attributable to both the council and the councillors, and also listen to the pub when they say they want councillors to make the best decisions possible, in our example across an annual budget of $250 million, of which we have the final say on how much is where money's being expended. I think you could reason with the people in the pub and say, on balance, a few $1,000s is money well spent. So for those reasons, Chair, I think limiting that development opportunity across the council is a bad idea, and I ask councillors to reject this motion. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Riley. Any other speakers that are for or against this motion? Yep. Deputy Mayor Dan.
Thank you very much, Chair. Look, to make it very clear, I've made a personal decision not to have attended an Olga conference. So I guess my perspective is that because I've not actually attended it before, I can't honestly make a hand-on-heart definitive assessment on its value. But what I can assess is opposition to this motion, which is used to masquerade the mover's hypocrisy. Look, the mover has just talked about encouraging council to change our ways. And I would definitely encourage her to start by looking in the mirror first of all. While I'm always happy to consider amendments and to discuss new ideas, I don't believe that councillors should be boxed into playing these performative games and be strong-armed into supporting motions that have been brought forward in bad faith. As mentioned already by Councillor O'Reilly, Councillor Garrett publicly called this conference a junket in 2024, the very same junket she chose to attend this year, 2026. Notwithstanding her reasons why, whether it was poor judgment or whether it was just general forgetfulness, I don't know. She can speak for that herself. But what I'm interested in is how many of these conferences she's actually attended since she was first elected onto council since 2020. So I'd like to remind all my colleagues in this chamber that all of our expenses reports are available publicly for everyone to see. It's done through a simple Google search. And I also remind all councillors that these expenses are broken down month by month. So can Councillor Garrard, as the mover of the original motion, confirm whether she attended in 2021, whether she attended in 2022, whether she attended in 2023? That's 4 times over the past 6 years. And it appears that these claims were recorded in the month of June, where those ALGA conferences in those respective years were held, Chair. Now, of course, those claims could be for anything, but you can put 2 and 2 together, and I can't really think of anything else that airfares could have been claims for, which then begs the question, did it really take Councillor Garrard 3 trips to Canberra for her to determine that the Olga conference was a junket? 3 trips to Canberra before coming to that conclusion in 2024. So really, just to get to the point, what really concerns me is that Councillor Garrard is now looking to limit the opportunities she herself has benefited from. And I think this attempt to grandstand simply reeks of arrogance and hypocrisy. I find her concerned for the costs that council is incurring to be really touching. So I guess to finish off, I would just want to ask that if Councillor Garrard is so concerned about these alleged junkets, can she please tell us when her residents can expect her to issue refunds? Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Dan. Any other speakers for or against? Your right of reply, please, Councillor Garrett.
Thank you. Look, I think it's called playing the person and not the ball. I think I live rent-free in Councillor Dunn's. I went to conferences.
Deputy Mayor, you had your time to speak.
The reason we go to conferences is because we put motions up. And every year that I went in those first 3 years, I had motions to defend. And unfortunately, that is a position we are put in where we are forced to travel to Canberra just to put up our motions. However, it does not take 8 councillors to do that. And so I did not hear from, Councillor Dan one argument other than his obsession with what I've done or what I haven't done about why we should send in excess of 3 councillors. The 25 plus, and had all councillors gone, it would have been up to 30,000, is exactly the amount you have said is too much for a feasibility study for a squash court. So, yeah, it's hypocrisy. It is hypocrisy. And what I'm saying is that every expense is an opportunity cost to roads, rubbish, and all of the other deliverables that we have. What I'm saying is now is the time to listen, to hear what the community is telling us, and to make an adjustment, and to align our practice with what most councils do. And that is what I'm suggesting we do here today. I apologise to Councillor Dan if I don't indulge him in his obsession about what I've done and what I haven't done. The important thing is that we need to be very careful in how we spend rate. And we would not send 10 people to fix a pothole when 2 would. In no other area of council would we say, hey, whatever, as long as a piece of string, you spend whatever you want. If 11 councillors want to go, 11 make hay while the sun shines. No other area of council would. That's why are we doing it here? So I urge my fellow councillors, please, let's listen and adjust our behaviour from here on in, because that is what the community expect of us, and that is good practice. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Garrard. So if we put it to a vote, please, all those in favour of the motion, could you raise your hand, please? Councillor Garrard, Councillor Doe, Councillor Formoso. All those against? Councillor Yim, Deputy Mayor Dan, Councillor Milkovich, Councillor O'Reilly and Councillor Le. And the item is carried for 5-3. If I could please ask Deputy Mayor Dan to resume his chair. Sorry, yep, my show was lost. Sorry.
Item 6, reports from councillors, delegated members and councillors' questions. We'll start with Councillor Garrard.
Thank you. My first question tonight is around the City of Burundura has estimated that exemptions from private, religious and educational properties cost the city millions of dollars in reduction in rates. In fact, they have worked out that over a 10-year period, that equates to about $865 per resident in their city. So on a back of an envelope estimation, I estimate that we forego around $80 million, 8 million per year, 80 million over a decade, which equates to about $500 per resident. So my question to the council is, will you release data on the total value of rates foregone for religious and private educational facilities, and what that cost is over a period of time, and a per resident or per ratepayer figure, and so that we can be provided with data to inform perhaps a rethink about whether this is appropriate. We do have a separation of state and religion in Australia, and it is increasingly questionable about why it is that religious facilities or educational facilities, private, are exempt, and whether this is actually something we want to continue. So my question is, can we have that data, even in broad terms, and so we can understand as a community how much rates that we as individual ratepayers, are actually compensating these often very, very wealthy, multi-million dollar organisations and get some kind of idea about what that cost is.
CEO, I believe.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And Councillor Garrard, it's a great question to ask, and it's one that's topical at a number of local governments at the moment. Council would be happy to provide data about how much goes into that category of rates. Clearly, we wouldn't release information about individual sites, but I'm happy to talk to the CFO after tonight's meeting, and we'll look at preparing a report for councillors.
Thank you very much. That's greatly appreciated. Just want broad figures, that's all. My second question is around, going back to the National Conference. We saw an unfortunate situation at the National Conference which chose to amalgamate 4 motions under the umbrella of racism. What actually happened is that the final motion called for a new racism framework. Just for those that don't know, the current racism framework took 5 years and millions of dollars to develop and was subject to a very extensive consultation process. The motions that were rolled up and turned into something that said we need a new framework actually didn't say that. 3 of the 4 motions not only didn't say that, but one expressly said the opposite. The motion from the City of Melbourne, it called for the full implementation of the existing framework. The Port Phillip motion called for a toolkit. The Glen Ira motion also did not call for a new framework. So what we saw by the aggregation of 4 of these motions was something that came out that actually meant the opposite of at least one of those motions. So my concern is that this process is actually misrepresenting some of these motions, which is of great concern, because then the whole 530 odd councils voted on a misrepresentation of what was put up. So my question tonight is, will the Mayor or appropriate officers write to ALGA questioning that process and why it is they chose to misrepresent the intent of the 4 original motions? And my second question is, can we call for that motion not to be adopted as policy by ALGA, because in fact it is based on misrepresentation. And the consequence of calling for a whole new racism framework is a 5-year delay, again millions of dollars expended for no particular improved outcome. So my 2 questions are, would we consider doing that, and what would the process be?
Ms. Ajari.
And through you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Garrard. I know we had very initial conversation in the conference. I suggest that we would be able to send an email and ask the question as the starting point, because we need the whole evidence to see how the process was. And based on the information we received, that how was the original motion, how they went through the process, of course, we can then, Council can decide about what is the next step, if we oppose that or not. But yeah, the action is that we can contact ALGA and ask for what has been the original and what has been approved or endorsed in the ALGA conference, if it's happening.
Thank you, that would be most appreciated. I know that the councillor from the City of Melbourne that put it up approached ALGA and asked why her motion was actually inverted to mean the opposite, and she was told that there was nothing she could do about it, that she could try making changes from the floor. However, come that motion, the chair said no changes would be taken from the floor. So they were unable to change that, and also, however, later on other motions, they took changes from the floor. So it seems a very inconsistent and inadequate process, so I would greatly appreciate that. I do have 3 of the 4 original motions to review. Like them. So my final question tonight, I was asked by a resident for a question that I couldn't answer, so I'm just putting this to the council tonight. The question that was put to me was that the current mayor has put a cap on the number of public events she will attend per day. I believe that cap is 2, that she will only attend 2 functions per day, and that the Deputy Mayor in this term has attended in that capacity to stand in for the Mayor, I think, on 4 occasions. That is the information, the question I have been given, and so I am just putting that to the Council just for verification. And also my question is, has any other Mayor ever capped the number of public events they will attend on behalf of the Council?
I'm happy to answer that one. I can't answer for Mayor Tan, but in terms of my arrangements and attending events, I have full-time work commitments during the week, so that limits my availabilities to the weekends. I've been quite transparent about that over the past, what would be 6, 7, 8 months now, and where appropriate, the Mayor will coordinate with myself to arrange for those attendances, and as always, as a ward councillor, I also prioritise events in my own ward as well. I hope that answers your question, Councillor Garrett. Thanks.
Thank you. That's the answer to your particular situation. But I still would like to have an answer to the question of, has the Mayor put a cap on the number of events she will attend per day? And has any other Mayor ever done that before?
Mayor, my answer would be it's for Councillor Tan to answer that question and respond. So we'll take that on notice. She's not here this evening.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's the end of my questions.
Thank you, Councillor Garrett. Councillor Yim.
Thank you, Chair. On Sunday, the 27th of June, I was able to briefly attend a football game at Rowley Allen Reserve. The match had Mitch Robinson, an ex-Carlton AFL player playing for Keysborough, and Stephen Milne, an ex-St Kilda AFL player playing for Caulfield. The whole reserve was packed, so much so that it was difficult for myself to find parking at 2 p.m. for a 2:30 game. It was really good to see everyone showing up and supporting each other. There was a big sense of community and cheer that day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yim. Councillor Formosa.
Thanks. Thank you. So my question for this, actually it's more of a statement, is firstly, I have received some correspondence from the Mayor in relation to sending some letters to the appropriate ministers in relation to Lindale United Soccer Club. And like yourself, Councillor Yim, I wish I could go and attend the facilities at Lindale United to watch the 250 kids play at that club, but unfortunately the facilities that are there prevents them from doing so. So I believe all councillors received an email once again about the conditions of the pitch over the weekend, which prevented them from playing this weekend and possibly again next weekend due to the rain. Council has been pretty accommodating in sending them to a closer reserve to be able to play for the next couple of matches, but obviously this is not going to be something that we can continue at this capacity. So I thank the Mayor for sending those letters and would really appreciate all of the correspondence that we receive back from them in relation to that. $3 million for the government to invest in these facilities to ensure that it's a fit for purpose, 2 new pitches to be available for our juniors, females and community members to play on is a small ask, considering the need in our community. And now that we've squashed the squash, even more reason that we need better facilities for our residents. So just if I could get a follow-up in relation to those responses, that'd be really, really good. And just an overall question, if I could, and this is probably directed to the CEO. We've had a bit of an issue with sending in merits as councillors. So over the years, we've had a system where we would put in our requests, whether it be ones that we've observed ourselves or whether residents have asked us to act on their behalf. And we kind of had a response that we were going to have a much better response mechanism in place for our councillors to understand how things have actually been resolved, if at all they've been resolved, and a follow-up on these things that we've asked. So what I'm noticing is, once again, I'm caught in this spiral of putting in merits, putting in requests, asking for certain things to be done, and it's a hit and miss. 50% of the time, I'm getting really good follow-up. There's a couple of people in this room that are very, very good at that. But we really need to invest in a better system in responding to us as councillors in relation to what we are doing, have done, or are going to do. This lack of communication and transparency has become pretty frustrating, to be quite frank. I've got several issues that I've probably been raising since I first got elected. So there's a couple of matters that I've continuously been raising since 2020, if you can imagine. So if we could have a look at how we could best manage that and what we are going to do to actually implement some change, that'd be really great.
Thank you, Councillor Formosa. I'll ask Mr Guzman to provide a response.
Thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Formosa. We are certainly in the process of reviewing not only the current system, but also the practices in terms of how we provide feedback to yourself and the community. So we go working through that. We have certainly experienced certain challenges with the technology in use, but we are looking at the processes and procedures that we need to follow to ensure that we close the loop, if you like, on behalf of the councillors. However, if you have any specific matters, please send them to me. We have just hired a dedicated customer experience manager recently as well, who's actually dedicated to look at how to improve that customer experience. Also, as part of that, going back to the customer, ensuring that they get the appropriate response in a timely manner. More than happy to please receive those queries if you have. Send them directly to me and I'll liaise with the CX manager, and I'll come back to you with further information.
Appreciate that, Mr Guzman. But in all fairness, these are questions that we've been asking and trying to resolve even before you have joined our council. So it seems that we keep going in this merry-go-round, and this is the response that we get, yet very, very little follow-through. So if you're saying you would like me now to personally send you every single request that I don't have a response for, brace yourself, because that's going to be a full-time job.
More than happy, Councillor.
Excellent. But if we could definitely review that, please, Ms Weatherall.
Thank you, Councillor Formosa.
Thank you. And another question I have, Deputy Mayor, not one that I can ask the Mayor because she's not here. It's been brought to my attention recently that there's been a lock mechanism implemented in the Mayor's office, which has prevented any of the other councillors to be able to use that space, which we're all entitled to use for our meetings, meeting with residents, meeting with community groups, etc. I did raise it in our CBS earlier this week, but there wasn't really a response. So my question is, and if we could put that forward to the Mayor and obviously to everyone else, if we could please allow access to that room to all of the councillors and not just the Mayor of the day, because that is a space that our residents and ratepayers are paying for, and a space that we as elected representatives really need to be able to represent our community. That's all from me.
Thank you, Councillor Formosa, and be very happy to follow that up with the Mayor upon her return. Thank you. We'll go with Councillor Lair.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I don't have any question or report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lair. Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I've just got a couple of questions. They're all relating to the same thing. I've had not less than probably a dozen phone calls from residents in Central Dandenong, ranging from concern to outright anger in regards to the parking meter situation. Now, we've changed some of the parking meters to newer models a couple of months ago, as far as I understand, with the provision that some of those meters will still stay and can be operated with coins, which is what had happened. So some meters got replaced by the new modern ones with the tap cards, and the other ones were upgraded with the tap cards as well as the coin. However, the issue that has risen and confirmed by an email from one of the council officers that quite a large number of these machines actually do not accept coins, which defeats the purpose of us actually advocating for coins to be able to be used in central Dandenong. So can I ask a relevant officer, please, if this can be investigated as a matter of urgency, these machines fixed, repaired, or enabled to be able to use by coins? I've had correspondence with council officers as late as today where I was reassured that the machines were operating, only to walk out of my office literally 20 metres down the road and record the machine that's not operating. So people are getting caught out. Some of the elderly who don't have tap and go cards, they still rely on cash or even just the debit cards, are facing the situation where they're parking the cars thinking they can buy the actual ticket. There's no more tickets, by the way, just to mention to all our residents that all the machines are now ticketless. You got to put in your registration number. However, it is quite inconvenient because the machine is actually quite far apart. So by the time you walk in your 70s or 80s from one machine to another, only to realize that it's not taking coins, you got to walk back, call, report. You're facing a situation where you can quite easily get a ticket. So if we can please have a look at that and make sure that these are enabled as a matter of urgency. And so that's one statement. Question.
Mr. Jackson.
Yep.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you for the question, Councillor Milkovich. Yes, do acknowledge that we do have a couple of machines at the moment that have got a temporary fault with regards to taking cash, which we are aware of, and currently in the process of having those fixed. So they should be up and running in the next few days. But yeah, do apologise for the temporary inconvenience with regards to that.
There used to be quite clearly outlined on top of the machine what the hourly hire is or hourly fees for the parking and duration of the parking allowed, which is obviously on the signs. However, now you walk up to the machine, there's a screen, you got to touch the screen, put your reg number in, progress, start, continue, next, whatever it is, and still only on the top of the screen, which is actually quite hard to see in the bright daylight, is what it tells you per hour fee is. So can we please see that we can somehow install any kind of stickers on the machines to say fee per hour such and such and however many hours is allowed in that particular location? Because you got to progress to all that sort of nonsense, on the screen, put in your reg number, whatever, only to find out that you can't afford, you don't have enough cash on you, etc., etc. So if we can have a look at that, and also second to that, can we see why, as far as I know, the machines are not, we were promised when these machines were going to be upgraded that it's going to create convenience and it's going to cost less to park. However, right now you park in central Dandenong, the least amount of time you can pay for is an hour. I'm not sure how that's creating less payments for our residents when before you could just chuck 20 cents in for 15 minutes or whatever, or 50 cents. Now you're limited as a minimum to 1 hour. And I think that's the case even with coins. Can that be rectified and the machines reprogrammed so they actually take less amount of coins? Because, you get there, you want to get some, medicine from the pharmacy. You need to be there 10, 15 minutes. You got to fork out $2.50, and if you're an elderly resident pensioner who's visiting the pharmacies or doctors quite often, well, it can amount to a substantial amount of money. So I'm not sure why this was upgraded/downgraded, and if we can maybe see that this system's updated and availability of lesser fees or lesser minute fees be applied to these machines again as a matter of urgency as well. Thank you.
Mr. Jackson.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you again for the question. In terms of making it clearer as to the cost of the machines, yes, certainly happy to look at how we can make that clearer for users of the parking in central Dandenong in particular. So you're happy to have a look at that. And with regards to time, again, happy to take that away and come back to you with more details around what options we have to make that potentially more flexible.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Attended a few events. I won't go through them all. Just mention one at the Cambodian Association of Victoria, which was the 10-year commemoration of the death of Dr. Kem Lay, who was an important political activist in Cambodia and was assassinated in July 2016. And I just thought it was important event in our municipality, not just for the Cambodian community, but also for the broader community in terms of commemorating someone who sacrificed a lot in their fight for democracy. That's all I have. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor O'Reilly. For my report this month, I just wanted to take a moment to recognise the Noble Park Community Centre, which celebrated their 70th anniversary as of last week. 70 years is a remarkable achievement, and many of us know some of the programs that they run every day, including hosting community groups, support services, activities for seniors, young people, and also newly arrived residents. What I particularly admire about the centre and its people there is that they never really lose sight of the purpose of why they are involved. It exists to bring people together and really to create those opportunities at an affordable level for so many. So I just want to congratulate the staff, the volunteers, and all the committee members past and present who have done so much to keep the centre together and to serve the community. Last week, Greater Dandenong launched our advocacy plan right here in this chamber, in which it outlines how we plan to work with all levels of government, from the state government to the federal government, how we plan to work with industry partners and stakeholders to advance the priorities that really matter in our community, such as modern community facilities and infrastructure, better access to healthcare, better and safer access to public transport, and of course more local jobs, growth and housing as well. So I look forward to Council continuing with this work and ensure that we work hard so that all levels of government can come together to deliver results for our residents. I also have some good news to end my report on as well. Over the past month, Greater Dandenong has won an award at the Local Government Awards, which sought to address violence against women and children. I believe we were given a nice little trophy and picture frame as well. I think we'll quickly take a photo. Yeah, and Ms. Gillies, I think you might have to come back as well, because we were also awarded as finalists as part of the LG Pro ceremony when it came to diversity and inclusion. So a great, successful month overall. Thank you very much. That concludes item 6. There is no urgent business tonight, so we'll move on to the final item, which is 4.1.1, which is to be heard in camera. And thank you all for attending tonight. Thank you very much. Moved by Councillor Garrard and seconded by Councillor Yim. Are there any objections, questions? If not, that passes unanimously. meeting, to which then we will vote on the item. Thank you very much. Item 4.1.1, Facilities Maintenance and Management Services Contract Extension. Can I please get a mover? Moved by Councillor O'Reilly, seconded by Councillor Garrard. Are there any, I believe there are no other further questions. Is there any opposition? As there is no opposition, I declare...
Just an abstention from me, please.
Yeah, I declare that the item is carried with an abstention from Councillor Formoso. Item 8, close of business at 9:08 p.m. Before we close, I believe there are some questions for tabling.
Yes, there are councillor questions taken on notice requiring further action, so I will be providing the report to you, Deputy Mayor, for minuting.
Thank you very much. Meeting closed at 9:08 p.m. Thank you.